Web3 Deep Dive podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Wolfson. I'm so excited for today's interview. Today, I'll be speaking with Alex Masmej. He is the CEO and founder of Drakula.app. Alex has a really interesting story about how he got started in the crypto space. And if you guys are interested in learning more about decentralized social media, this is definitely the interview for you. Be sure to stay tuned for the entire episode because Alex has some really interesting things to say that I don't want you guys to miss. Okay, before getting started with today's interview, I'd also like to take the time to thank House of Web3 and Edge and Node for letting us film this in-person interview at this beautiful podcasting space in San Francisco. If you guys aren't a member of House of Web3 and you live in San Francisco and you're in the crypto space, you should definitely check it out. It's such a great co-working spot, and there's resources like a podcast studio. Highly recommend it. Okay, I'd also like to take the time to thank the sponsor behind this episode. So let's get into that. Scroll is the leading zero-knowledge rollup. Designed by developers for developers, Scroll's bytecode-level compatibility makes building on it just like building on Ethereum. Open source and community-driven from day one, Scroll's developer ecosystem is the fastest growing among zk-rollups, with over 2,400 active developers monthly and globally. Committed to shaping a more scalable Web3, Scroll is the future of Ethereum. And without further ado, let's get started with today's interview. Hey, Alex, how's it going?
Good. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Okay, before we get started, explain your last name real quick.
So my last name, I have a French last name called Masmej, and my first name is Alexandre. And I decided, I think like 5 or 6 years ago, to just shorten it on Twitter. And that's when I got known into crypto. So now I'm like, I can't go back to like my longer name. So I go by Alex Masmej.
Okay, cool. Great. Well, thank you for that, Alex. Before we officially get started, can you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself, what you do, and then we can go from there?
Yeah, for sure. So my name's Alex, and I got into crypto 5 or 6 years ago. I created the Alex token after my name. And so that eponymous token went viral, and it helped me move from my hometown, Paris, to San Francisco. And I did a lot of other use cases with it. And then I started my company, Showtime. And so we run Showtime for 2 years or so. And lately, earlier this year, we launched a new product called Dracula from the same Showtime company. And whether it's Showtime or Dracula, it's always been about decentralized social media, crypto and social media together, and how it can benefit content creators and just social media users in general. That's been the theme of like the past couple of years, and just been iterating in that space ever since.
Okay, cool. So you've got a really interesting journey. Let's talk about how you got involved in the crypto sector. And then I want to talk about Alex Token.
Sure. Yeah, of course. So I did like a quick bachelor degree, and I was like 20 or 21. And I was like, okay, like I really want to be like the next Elon Musk and have like the most ambitious career possible. How do I like reverse engineer what he's done, like starting from where he is to like where he's at now? And I think a lot of very incredible entrepreneurs started with the internet. And to me, that's kind of the same with blockchains, where it's so low barriers to entry. Like anyone can just get started writing a smart contract, or even just going at conferences and meeting people. It's not something where you need tons of funding or you need tons of data, like AI, where like it benefits more incumbents. I feel like crypto is really an outsider tech. And so coming from Paris with not too much resources or like tech knowledge, I could like break into that space. So I was like, okay, I'm going to dedicate 10 years of my life in the space, at least in 2019. So now we're like 5 years in. So it's like halfway through there. Maybe I'll stay longer. And so ever since then, I've been like really wanting to build a consumer product in crypto. And I started in the space with this very weird group of people, crazy group of people called Cartel, who I love so much. And they just taught me so many things about DAOs and DeFi and NFTs, like years before it was in the spotlight. And amongst all of these tiny projects I did with Cartel, exploring all of these concepts, COVID happened. And I was stuck at my parents' place. I was like 22 maybe then. And I was like, all right, if I really want to make it as a founder, I have to like leave my hometown, not get a job and get funded. And that's where that's where the idea for the Alex token came from.
Okay. Wow. This is a lot to unpack.
Right.
I do agree with you. If you want to make it as a founder, you have to leave your own hometown. That's what I did when I was similar to your age.
From where?
Well, I grew up in Dallas.
Okay.
I went to Tel Aviv.
Nice.
I was there for a few
awesome.
years, and then I came to SF.
That's so cool.
But I do think SF is really like the place to be in terms of like being a tech founder.
Yeah.
I think everybody has to live here in order to like really make it. I'm not saying live here for the rest of their lives, but I think at least being here. So good move.
Totally.
And this cartel that you mentioned, what's it called again?
It's called Meta Cartel.
Meta Cartel. They sound a little bit like the PayPal mafia.
Well, yeah, like... I kind of feel like it's like the homebrew computer club in the 70s leading to like the computer revolution, PC revolution, or the PayPal mafia. I'm not sure if it'll be as successful, but like it was such a crazy group of people because, as I said, like crypto is a very easy industry to break into. And so there was so many weird people. There was like a plumber from Croatia, an ex-porn star, Peter Pan, who was literally, he's called Peter Pan, and like he was in healthcare and design and then just joined. Like it was such a mix and mash of people in one place. And we were all obsessed with making crypto user experience much easier. And I think we were like the first group to like crack a way to abstract transaction fees, which is very annoying in blockchains. And at the time, it's not like the layer 2 or whatever is happening right now. We called it meta transaction. And so the name Meta Cartel came from inventing the concept of meta transaction, where you just sign and you don't have to pay transaction fees. And so that made the blockchain much easier back in 2019. Still was like a pain in the ass, like, MetaMask and all of these tools are like very hard to use. But anyway, so that group was just really focused on making crypto user experience easier, making new apps that are fun and not just infrastructure tools, not just nodes, but actual apps people can use. And I'm still in touch with most of that group today. I love them. And that's how I got started.
How did you meet them?
I met them on Twitter. I think most of my life has been Twitter, basically. Like Twitter gave me most of my opportunities. Twitter has been more valuable than any degree by far. Like I don't have many degrees anyway, but and so I think I met Peter Pan on Twitter. I was interviewing for like a role in like community or social media, and I got rejected. But he was like, you know what? You can just still join Meta Cartel because we have no money anyway. We need people to help us. And I started helping out a couple projects, and then that's how I met him. And then at some point, I wanted to go to a conference, but I could not afford it. And I said cheekily on Twitter, like, oh, like if only I had the funds to go to Berlin Blockchain in 2019. And then he replied and wired me $1,500 so I could pay for my flights and go there. And so that's when I met them for the first time in real life. And it was an incredible experience.
Cool. Yeah, no, it sounds like a very crypto story. Like, I feel like a lot of people have these things where they meet on Twitter or X and then, they meet them in real life at an event. So wait, what's the story behind your shirt? Because you said something about your shirt that you're wearing in the Cartel.
So the shirt is Meta Cartel. I actually did not go to that conference. This is 2021. But I remember going to, Meta Cartel conference, MCon. I went to the very first one in 2019, which was just 19 people. And so we were like the MCon 0, basically. And so this is what this shirt represents. It's like all the companies on my back are like many of the companies that I helped. And it's so crazy because, we were literally the first ever consumer crypto people. And we were very early and there was not much back then. But now I think it's a little bit of a buzzword, consumer crypto. It's like rising. There's more apps right now that are consumer facing. But we're the first to explore the cutting edge of blockchains as apps, not just as wallets or nodes or infra. And I've always been more passionate about consumer and impacting real people versus B2B SaaS projects. And so, that's why I love this shirt. It's like so random that I wore it today, but yeah.
Yeah, cool. There's a good story behind it.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about Alex token. So what is Alex token? Why did you create it? When did you create it? Is it still in existence?
Yeah, for sure. So how did I create it? So basically I was flown out by this stranger, anonymous person I met on Twitter, Peter Pan. And then he goes to the conference and he's like, hey, Alex, like, I know it's like the bear market. Like, I don't have much money. At the time, he was like 19 or 20 years old. And I was so shocked how young he was. And so we're like, what if we create like a debt token where basically you create a cryptocurrency and you emit 1,500 of them because it was $1,500 that he gave me. And then hopefully you find people at the conference willing to pay a little bit to buy back the debt that you owe me. And we did this, and it worked out. Like I didn't have to pay it back, and I was happy to have been at a conference and have been part of like this gift economy where people were so generous to me. But that was still a tiny amount. And then COVID happens, and there's a company, a startup at the time called Roll, who had worked with Gary Vee and a bunch of celebrities to do their own cryptocurrency. And they were like, hey, Alex, like we've been selling to these celebrities so many times how to create your coin, and you did it on your own with this guy called Peter Pan. Like we'd love to create like not just this loan token for you, but like a real token for you, and we can call it Alex. And so we do this, we create the Alex token. And the first use case was like people could buy an hour of my time. But really at the time, no one really cared about my time. Like I was very available if like someone interesting were coming my way, and I would like talk to them. And so not much happened. And that was like late 2019. And then in 2020, there's the COVID lockdown that happens. I lose some money accidentally in DeFi because crypto was still very complicated. I have maybe like $1,000 in my bank account, all the crypto nukes. I'm at my parents' house. I'm 22, and I'm like, I don't know what to do. And there's just before every conferences in real life shuts down, there's one more conference in Paris, in my hometown. And I know the organizers so it's like ECC 2020. And they're like, hey, like you're like this high energy, exciting French guy. Like, we'd love to have you on main stage. You can talk about anything. And I'm like, all right, I really need to be ballsy, because if I don't make something that like gives me money somehow, I'll probably just have to get a normal job or like just leave the blockchain space, because I can't live with so little resources for so long, especially now it's COVID. I can't even travel to meet people. It's going to be much harder. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to use that same cryptocurrency that I have, the Alex token, and I'm going to ask for $20,000. And I'm going to tell them it's going to be an ISA, income sharing agreement, where for the next 3 years, I'll give like a portion of my salary, 15%, up to $100,000. So like I would cap in case I like really, really succeed and like I don't give too much away. And basically give me $20,000, give me a safety net as an entrepreneur to make it from Paris to San Francisco. And then I'll do a startup, I'll get some funding, and off my salary, I will give back to these people. And so I shared this in ECC. The talk is still online today. And nothing really happened the couple of days after. And then I drop a Google form where people can like buy into it. And after like 3 or 4 days, it fills up completely. And so I raised the $20,000. So I closed the form. And then I announced, hey, like I've done the $20,000 crowdfund. Thank you so much for everyone. And there was like the founder of MetaMask and Zora, and a lot of founders really helped me. And that's when it starts going viral, because a lot of journalists are like, oh, okay, like he actually did it. It's not just, some wishful thinking. Like he just finished his crowdfund. And so then I kind of was coined as like the first human IPO. Had lots of media and articles. I went on like Pomp and all of the famous podcasts. And I had my 15 minutes of fame. I was like the most Googled Alex at some point on Google. That was pretty funny. And so, And so actually after this, I did other use cases with it that even went viral again. Like people could control my life choices. They could vote like one Alex equal one vote. And it was just a lot of things I did. People were like cloning my face with AI, and you could get me to talk with AI in any language. Paying with Alex tokens. Like I did a lot of little partnerships. And so I was kind of playing with the media because I was constantly going viral on this. And so it was great. It was building my brand. And I feel like I learned so much about crypto and social media, because all of these marketing tricks, like I all did it on Twitter. And so that was really amazing. And obviously I also got my visa in the meantime and was searching for co-founders and was moving to SF. So in parallel, the initial goal of moving to SF succeeded. So yeah. And then to your last question, yes, it is still trading. It is on Uniswap, so it's immutable and will forever exist. And it's on Ethereum mainnet, which is a little slow and expensive. But I think recently I just migrated like 5 or 10% to the supply to Base, which is cheaper and faster, and the layer 2 by Coinbase, so it's a little easier to use the on-chain world. But yeah, it's going to trade forever. It's not a massive market cap. I think it's like maybe $1 million now or something. But it's pretty fun. And like technically, I still own a lot of it. So
What is one Alex token worth?
So I think it's worth like probably right now like 1 cent.
Okay.
The total supply is 10 million. I think it's a lot of arbitrary numbers. Like I don't think the startup that did this initially with me uh, put much thought behind it because it was so hard at the time. I think now the space understood a little more because of like Pump.fun and Friendtech. There's a lot of new consumer apps that made progress on how to price exotic assets like a person's on chain. Like that's kind of a weird concept. But so yeah, there's 10 million of it, and I think it's worth 1 cent. So maybe it's like, yeah, I guess 100K, or I guess between 1 and 10 cents. I think it varies. So it's between 100K and 1 million. It's a very illiquid asset.
Why would the asset go up? Just out of curiosity.
So I think initially there was really no reason because the income sharing agreement was like a private informal contract, and so the Alex token I just gave it away to these people. And then I did use cases like if you owned enough Alex token, you could vote on my life choices for a month. People got me to run 3 miles a day. They voted. It was me and Austin Griffiths from the Ethereum Foundation. We did this mini thing where they could vote like if for 1 month I become vegan or I wake up at 6 a.m. every day. Like they were like doing like physical challenges that I had to do every single day for a month. And they voted on this. And so you could buy them to like buy more votes and influence the vote. And then you could buy 5,000 Alex tokens to get into my Telegram group chat. And the day you sell, the bot would find out and you would be kicked out. So like you had like a hard requirement of like you need the Alex token or you're out of this group chat. And so, but nothing was purely financial. There was never like fundamentals or anything. And because now I'm focused on my startup versus the Alex token, it's more of like a meme coin now. Like it's not something that's, I don't give much attention to the Alex token, but it inspired me so much to do what I'm doing at Dracula because I feel like you could technically invest in me metaphorically because it's not exactly like my equity or it's not really tied to myself anymore. But you could invest in me with the Alex token. And now on Dracula, anyone can invest in the content creators on Dracula. So I feel like what worked for me, I'm doing it for any content creators on my app.
Okay. This is super interesting. I want to talk about Dracula. Before we talk about that, I just found it interesting that you said people were voting and telling you to do these challenges like being vegan and running. How did that go for you? Like, did you actually do those challenges?
Yeah. So people voted. So I put 4 choices: being vegan, waking up very early, like 6 a.m. daily, run 3 miles a day. And the first one was live solely off Bitcoin. So like you had to pay rent in Bitcoin and just like buy food in Bitcoin and just like film yourself with all your interactions. And people voted for run 3 miles per day, which I think is probably the most painful physically. So they were kind of like trying to like annoy me, I guess. It was kind of like a Truman Show because I had like every day to like share my Strava to prove on my group chat that I was really running every day. And that was great. I got more fit that month. It was July 2020. Every single day, including my birthday, July 25th, I run 3 miles. And that was fun. Actually, it's crazy because I was like, honestly, like, so this went viral. I got like some, I think I got a profile on CoinDesk of like, man who sold his soul on the blockchain is now letting people control his life. Like, it was very clickbait. Um, and so, of this new virality, I was like, okay, like, people are not gonna take me too seriously because it's just like a joke and it's like a gimmick. But actually, there's a big founder who at the time was working for a DEX, like Balancer, who came up to me and was like, oh my God, dude, like, this is how we should govern DeFi protocols. What you've done sounds like a joke, but actually this like signature with no gas fees is great. And this guy left his company to found Snapshot. And Snapshot now is used to govern most of the big decisions of blockchain protocols. And it's so funny that it was inspired by my joke of like, you can vote if I wake up early or run 3 miles per day. So anyway, so that story is crazy because I became the first Snapshot vote. Like he got me on his app, and MakerDAO or Compound or Uniswap, I think they all use Snapshot to this day, which is pretty funny. So yeah, doing jokes on chain actually led to like proper products.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like your path really has taken like you to a great space. So it's really interesting to hear how, you went from being in Paris, not in the crypto space, to like being in SF today.
Yeah.
And yeah, And now you have Dracula.app. So what is Dracula.app?
For sure. So I founded Showtime in 2020, and at first I really wanted to make my idea of a personal token, a social token like I've done with the Alex token, happen for other content creators. But it still was obvious to me that the space was not ready yet. And so I think, I saw NFT and digital art really take off in 2020. And we did like an art gallery where basically you could connect your wallet and you could see your NFT art from all your platforms showcased in one place. And we tried to make social media familiar actions visible on the app, so you could follow and like an NFT and hide an NFT from your profile. And so that was pretty cool. We did this, and then it did well in 2021. We raised some funding from Paradigm, Naval, Blau, and great investors. And then I think NFT art didn't do as great. And the only remaining use case was more purely trading versus showcasing your art online. And a lot of people just left the space. A lot of creators left the space. And they all left mostly for TikTok. A lot of musicians or digital artists just started using TikTok or Instagram Reels much more. And we were like, okay, like we have all this funding, we should probably do like a TikTok app and see in what way it like intersects with crypto. And we started building Dracula in like late 2023 and launched it in March 2024. And basically it's an app where we create a coin for each creator. So I went back to the original premise of the Alex token. Anyone had a coin, and you could swipe videos, and if you like a creator, you could basically buy a share of this creator. And we did another twist on it last minute because we wanted to play with the Farcaster community. Farcaster is like this crypto Twitter clone. It's like a different app solely for the crypto community, and they have a way to like tip each other on the app with a token called Degen. And so if you like something, you can tip Degen, and the more influence you have on the social network, the more Degen you can give to people. And so we were like, what if the currency on our app is also Degen? That way we would like directly speak to that crowd. They would already have money to spend on our app. And we basically did this. And so you could invest in Degen in content creators that are posting videos. And we launched on Farcaster in March, and it did really, really well. We had like $60 million of volume. We got 50,000 users, which is obviously very small, but like it really was a deep penetration of the Farcaster community. Like everyone listened, like went on Dracula and checked it out and posted videos. And so, yeah, so Dracula is a short video app aimed initially at Farcaster content creators where you can invest in content creators.
When you say short video app, like what do you mean? Do you mean like little short reels that we're seeing
A little
on
bit like TikTok? Yeah, a little bit like TikTok. Like
Are
you
people
can.
dancing and singing?
There's some dances. I think there's actually a little bit of everything. There's some cooking. There's some dancing. There's some talking about cryptocurrency, promoting cryptocurrencies. There's a bit of everything. There's people doing push-up challenges because you can tip with Degen. So like if you can say, hey, I'll give Degen to like someone who does 50 push-ups or something. The main star user we have is Ted at Ted.Lasso on Twitter. She's a very brilliant girl who does like just talks about like dating, relationships, tech, science, politics, and she's one of the most followed person on Farcaster. Happens to be a TikToker as well, but she's not that big on TikTok. But her content is very high quality. She's had a couple of viral TikToks, but most of their TikToks does not do that too well. Versus on our app, well, because we're based on top of Farcaster and she's so known on there, it gave her a lot of space to have actually more views almost than TikTok on most videos, because she's so known with that community. So I guess our value proposition as an app is not just the money side and all the financialization of crypto. It's also, you won't have to compete with Charli D'Amelio and all of these massive influencers from TikTok. This is your community, your crowd. And so if you're doing great on Farcaster, which is a text-based social media, but if you're doing videos, we have this video app with the same social network underneath, the same people, and you could really get more attention there.
Yeah. So because I don't use Farcaster, I don't use Dracula.app. I'm going to use both of these now because this sounds really cool.
Yeah, we could get a snippet of the podcast on
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, no, we should. But basically with Farcaster, people can build apps within Farcaster. Is that how it works? Or
Yeah, exactly. So Farcaster has a lot. I guess they have two things. One is all the following, likes, posts, replies. It's all open for anyone to use, and you can post from another app or client. And so for us, you log in on Dracula and you connect your Farcaster, and when you post, it automatically posts the video on Farcaster as well. So we uploaded like tens of thousands of videos to Farcaster. And so it's like a really big win-win because they get tons of more content. And then we get to like publish the video in two places, which is great because we don't have a billion users like the big social media apps, but the video is an NFT, so it already shows up on all the wallets. Plus, it shows up on Dracula. Plus, it shows up on Farcaster. So you can really push the video in many different places, which is not possible. That's one of the benefits of Web3. It's like you can push a video in one place and it just appears everywhere. So that's really cool. And then the second thing is Farcaster really innovated with what they called frames. And frames really blew up around the time Dracula launched. And we also adapted our product for frames, which is so Farcaster is just like Twitter, like it's literally just text and tweets. But what they've done is they said like you can take a tweet and you can create a mini app with like 4 buttons, and you can have transactions happen with a wallet directly on the Farcaster app. And so, for instance, someone made like a Girl Scout cookie website where you could literally buy real life cookies delivered to your place, buy it with like $10 of Ethereum, and you just input your address on the mini app on the tweet, and that's it. And that's a really big difference with Twitter or other social media where they really try to lock you in. Like there's no, if you put a link on Twitter, you get deboosted by the algorithm because they really want you to stay on Twitter. Farcaster is the complete opposite. It's like, go on, make your business, do transactions. We'll take a small cut if there is like a financial transaction. We can take like 1% or like some very tiny take rate, but you're welcome to do business because it helps both of us. And so the Dracula videos, they're NFTs, and you can actually mint the NFTs. So we're making money off this new app, which has distribution. They have like, I think they don't have too many users. They have maybe right now 10,000 daily active users. And Dracula is more like maybe 1,000 weekly active users. So we don't have too many users right now. But it's cool to be able to multiply your audience and have the app really be open for other people. Whereas in Web2, you cannot do transactions because the technology is worse than crypto. Like if it was using PayPal or Stripe, like it would be too much fees, like 3% fees for small purchases plus 30 cents is too high. Crypto makes it so easy that in crypto, at least, we can say, hey, transact on my app. We'll take a tiny, tiny cut, way smaller than any traditional payment processor. And I think that's really awesome.
Yeah, no, it is. And I'm going to check it out for sure. What is this Degen token?
So the Degen token is it's a cryptocurrency that you earn through engaging on Farcaster. So the more followers you have, the more like you have. I think they compute a score for you, and then depending on how influential you are, you have an allowance of token to tip. And so then you can go on, and if you like a post, you can just reply 1,000 Degen to send 1,000 Degen to someone. And the allowance bit is very important because it means that it was a positive sum game. It was a win-win. When you tip someone Degen, it's from your allowance from being a popular user on the social network. It's not you deducting money off your balance because otherwise people would not really be as, spending Degen as much because it's a fixed allowance that disappears if you don't tip people. It created this like gift economy where people were giving each other Degen for good content. And it was a very interesting way to like spread that token to like tens of thousands of people. And the Degen token at the peak was like over $1 billion. And like it just resulted in a ton of money for many people on the app who had tons of followers. And so it was a very interesting way to like financialize social capital, financialize your reputation. And I have a crazy story with the Degen token because I saw this and I was like, this is a very good system. And our app was supposed to be USDC and trying to be a bit more mainstream and abstract the crypto part. But last minute, I see Degen and Farcaster really blow up in users. I think their peak was maybe 100,000 users daily. And I'm like, okay, like we should probably, a good friend of mine told me you should probably ask the Degen team for a grant because you're going to use the Degen on your product. And then that grant, you can give it to content creators to try to compete with TikTok on the creator fund, where TikTok pays content creators every month or so, like a tiny amount of money. And you could try that. And so we go to the team. They give us $20,000 in grants. But what we didn't realize is because our app was using Degen, it really made the price skyrocket because it was a new use case for Degen. A lot of people were buying Degen just to use Dracula, and the price went up by like 50x or something. And so the $20,000 in like 3 days turned into $1.5 million. And that was amazing because then I set up a council with Legion from Variant, Coupa Tropa, a bunch of like big people in social media and crypto. And I said, hey, like every week, let's create like an on-chain creator fund where we give money to creators every single week and we just have them post original content on the app at least 3 times a week, and then we'll reward them. And so Degen, so yeah, like as a currency in my app, and also the crazy grant story where $20,000 turned into over $1 million. That was super helpful in like bootstrapping our audience and show the power of Web3, which is it pays way more than Web2. That's probably one of the biggest things.
Yeah, definitely. But with Degen, do you have to use Farcaster to get, like, I can't go on an exchange and buy Degen?
You can
Or
buy
can I?
Degen on exchanges, but the way people got it at first was they were earning it through using Farcaster. And I think it's like one of the important things when you're creating a coin. Like you don't want the coin to be first held by a couple of insiders, not be available for sale, and just be like, well, you have to buy it, I guess, early on. I think that's like not the best way to spread a coin. The best way to spread a coin is to try to like cast the widest net possible of early adopters, and that usually makes the coin more powerful because more people use it and are incentivized to like promote it and market it. And so I think Degen did a really good job there. They really innovated with the initial distribution by saying, because the Farcaster APIs and public data is public, we're going to give to the most interesting users with the biggest following Degen. So they all talked about Degen. They all tipped each other Degen. And so when they did their first airdrop, so when it finally hit the market, the price went skyrocketing because well, I mean, I'm not supposed to give financial advice or anything, but it went skyrocketing because it was a strong community and they were all holding that token. And so there was many more use cases that popped up from there, including my app Dracula, but there was many other apps who actually used Degen because basically it became a go-to-market. Like Dracula go-to-market was Degen because these were my target audience. There was 40,000 people holding this token and it's put directly to them. They could directly spend it and earn it on my app. And many other apps followed suit after, and that was very interesting. Like it started as like more of a joke, and then it became a tipping currency, and then it became used in other apps. So it's funny how like a coin that at first is just pure speculation gains utility over time, and is actually, I think the name Degen is funny because it sounds really like degenerate and like almost like a gambling connotation, but it's actually a very interesting project with a very interesting distribution mechanism around rewarding popularity on social media. So yeah, that was interesting. Interesting go to market, but worked for us really well.
Yeah. Gosh, there's so much I can ask you about, but let's
Right.
talk about decentralized social media because I
Right.
think there's a lot of benefits here.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the benefit of, with X and TikTok and Instagram. I can't tell you how many times my
Yeah.
Instagram has been banned because I have
Yeah.
imposters on the app, even though I pay for the stupid check mark.
Yeah.
And then people are like, oh, you're scamming people because
Yeah.
of the imposters. So let's talk
Yeah.
about decentralized social media and the fact that that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
Like, They can't just be like, we're shutting your account down randomly, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think deplatforming is a big one. It doesn't happen to most people. I think like you're a public figure, you're a journalist, and so you could get deplatformed because civil resistance, like knowing if you are a human or a bot, is difficult for apps. And so, yeah, like definitely, if you're a big creator and it's your livelihood, like getting deplatformed is a really bad thing. So that's one thing. There's many other things. I think the second one is like, yeah, it's really hard to monetize and it's really hard to get your users to buy something because the social platforms want you to stay on the app. And if anything, they want you to spend on advertising versus get people to buy your products because they really downrank every URL. It's really tough. So another thing is, yeah, like they don't let you make users like buy something else. And it's not even about like gambling or speculation or making money. It's just if you don't let transactions happen, you have to get as much views as possible. And it's a weird incentive because I don't think every creator wants like a massive crowd to follow them. And I think this is maybe why Web3 works pretty well with small audiences and small communities because you don't need as many people to transact to make a living versus to view your video. Like if 1,000 people buy your product for $10 a month, you make $10,000, which is huge. But to make $10,000 on TikTok per month, you probably need to make 100 million or like some insane numbers. Or maybe like 50 million, then get some sponsors, but it's really hard to pull off. And so to me, it's interesting because a lot of creators are probably stuck into this paradigm where they have to be super clickbait. But in an alternative world, maybe what they want is actually a smaller community who actually buys real things from them. And the audience you need is much smaller. And so you can really break down, like you can get so much more creative with what your brand is if it doesn't have to be like denatured by being so brash and clickbait. And so it's just gonna make creators, I feel like basically like making more money means that you can get more creative because you don't need to make as much. And so then you can just stop working for the market and content to the market and try to do creative things with the community at smaller scale that wouldn't be possible otherwise. Like in real life events, like Friends with Benefits is a good example. Like they have a festival every year and they don't try to be mainstream and get billions of users, but they have this crowd of like 20,000 people where, because they buy a lot of NFTs and stuff, funded this thing where they can organize really cool events that were not really possible before crypto. I think if this was a subreddit, they would have never been able to afford it. That's pretty interesting. On the basically don't need as much the market, you can make money off a smaller number of people, and thus you can just do many things that the internet would not really let you make happen. And on the other hand, I think the other extreme is actually making as much money as possible. Like Mr. Beast, I think is worth like 10 billion, but I do feel like he would be even richer actually with crypto. He could make like billions and billions of dollars.
Who's Mr. Beast?
Mr. Beast is like the world's biggest YouTuber. Like he's on track to be. Do you know Mr. Beast?
I don't. Okay, so I'm embarrassed now, but.
And actually, like it's funny because it's very relevant this week because his memo leaked on like how to train a team, and like it's not Hollywood, it's not like traditional media. It's like a totally new playbook where like his crew and talent can be a little immature and make like jokes that are very superficial, but he's like let them go and let them do this, and then lots of like hardworking lessons and stuff. But Mr. Beast right now is really relevant this week because of the memo that was leaked about hardworking and how to make great YouTube videos. But basically, yeah, like I mean, Mr. Beast could make even more money, and he always have like he has crazy videos about burning cars or like doing giant like YouTubers. They started in their bedroom making comedy stand-up jokes, and now they like book stadiums. Their ad slot is more expensive than Super Bowl. Like they're really growing as a class, but I feel like they're gonna on the small, like the small market side is like valid, but also the side of becoming as ambitious as possible with the biggest budget as possible. Web3 is going to enable even more and even crazier earning potential, and that's gonna free YouTubers to do even crazier, more ambitious things. So it really benefits. It's just like the creativity spectrum, whether you want a small crowd and some transactions, or the Super Bowl massive star flagship events type of things. Like Web3 will enable both of this just much, much stronger.
Yeah, I do think that the challenge, though, is adoption and getting people in the Web 2 world, or like the TikTokers, the Instagrammers, the people on X, to know about these things. Because, like, for instance, gosh, I'm like embarrassed because even myself, and I've been in the industry since 2017, I'm not using Farcaster. I'm not using Dracula.app. I will be using it after this conversation. But it's like, how come I haven't been using it? People don't know. And I think it sounds a bit complicated as well for like someone on TikTok to have to understand what is Degen, what is crypto,
for sure.
Is this legal? Like,
No, totally. I think like the internet is really getting like compartmented. Like there's just different sections now. And so the Farcaster section is the Ethereum intelligentsia. They really flock to Farcaster. And so like MCon, Meta Cartel, like it's all Ethereum people. So this is my crowd. This is why I went there, because it's exactly the same as like when I said to creators, hey, you won't have to be competing with dancers on TikTok. This is your crowd. Farcaster pitch for me was like, this is your crowd, Alex. And I got more followers on Farcaster than Twitter. I have like double the audience. I have 30K on Twitter and like 60K on Farcaster. So I was like, it's a no-brainer. They're giving me so much status. So I have high status on Farcaster, so I have to go. And so maybe for you, like you were like with the Ripple crowd or the Bitcoin crowd or like some other blockchains. And so they just have different habits as a community, and people just go in other apps. And it's interesting because Twitter, since Elon took over, has been more about politics and culture war and just different types of content. And all the sub communities just went on their own into other apps. And so, yeah, I don't know if Farcaster is going to be a mainstream app with billions of users, or they're going to stagnate at like 1 million or 2 users, or they're going to grow. I'm not 100% sure. They definitely want to get way more users on their app. But I think for now, it is the Ethereum crowd. And I think a big problem is definitely user experience. Like it's really difficult to match Twitter and TikTok, because these apps had not only like tens of thousands of engineers just at it and trying to polish the app, but also years and years. Like it takes a very long time to create a very polished app. And so Web3 has a lot to catch up on. And so for users to switch from the incredibly dopamine highs of Instagram and TikTok, I think that's going to take a lot of effort, but we're going to keep building, and we're going to reach that quality bar and hopefully surpass it with all the money and cool new aspects of crypto, hopefully like this decade.
Yeah, definitely. So Alex, I wanted to ask you, the crypto ecosystem is huge. In your opinion, what is the most interesting part of the crypto ecosystem, and why?
So I'm biased, but to me, the most interesting part is crypto and social media. And to me, the biggest reason why is finance is actually pretty antisocial. Like Robinhood or Coinbase, like these are apps with like 50 million users, 100 million users. So it's like an order of magnitude less than TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, who have billions of users. So if we do want mass adoption in our industry, it has to be through social media. This is the number one use case of anyone online. This is how things spread. People like social things. They like their friends more than their finances or balances. They spend more time on TikTok. If they go on Coinbase or in a wallet, it's just a couple of minutes to send one transaction. So the time spent where the people are is social media. And so as long as we don't really crack this, crypto will still be like this more niche industry. And so I think that's the biggest deal. Like we spend all of our time online, and social media is actually even more centralized than banks. It's just like 5 or 4 companies dominating the space, and they barely pay any content creators. The only social media company that pays content creators fairly is YouTube. But anyway, my point is social media does not pay creators, and it's not sustainable, neither for the creators or the platform. It needs to change. That's the biggest thing on my mind. I can talk about another one, which is Worldcoin, like the crazy project by Sam Altman, which is another one. But social media is definitely it.
Why do you think Worldcoin is interesting?
So to me, I'm vexed about Worldcoin because I think, as you said, like, so you had problems with being impersonated online. And this problem is only going to get worse with AI. Like, AI is so hard to, um, it's going to be so hard to understand whether it's an AI or a human. Like, the Turing test, knowing if someone is a human by text, has been passed by ChatGPT. It's really hard to know, unless you're really trained, whether someone is an AI or a bot online. This will only get worse, and this will be probably bad for elections and deep fakes. And there's so many bad consequences of AI taking over. And so then the problem is like, okay, like, how do you identify yourself as a unique human online? And the team behind Worldcoin tried everything. They've tried to do IDs and passport, but turns out most people don't even have passports. Like, I think Americans actually have a green card. They don't have a passport because they don't really travel outside the States. Um, or obviously third world countries don't have passports, or like they don't have like valid passports, or they're easy to fake or whatever. And so if you cannot get the KYC, the passport part, if you like, there's not many options. There's maybe your fingerprints, but maybe people are like amputees and don't have fingers or whatever. And so they landed on this Black Mirror-esque but very good technique of an iris scan, where it scans your eyes, and your eyes are unique even if you have a complete identical twin. And to me, if we can have this digital passport, which is gonna be on Ethereum, I think it's already the case. If they scan the entire world, and then everyone online can like claim that they're human, a lot of the great blockchain use cases can be unlocked. Because I think one of the core things of blockchains is like rewarding a user behavior with cryptocurrency. But right now it's really hard to do because it's so easy to fake. Every time, if you ever give an incentive, all the bots are just going to go at it. And so if you could discriminate against the bots and for the humans, that would be really exciting. And another crazy, crazy thing is, if everyone in the world has a wallet that it is uniquely tied to a human, you could potentially give universal basic income and potentially solve poverty worldwide. And I think that's the plan behind Worldcoin. Sam Altman wants to take the billions of dollars from OpenAI, which is a nonprofit, to funnel them back to Worldcoin and give an airdrop and basically eradicate poverty, because everyone will have a living wage. And so only blockchains can actually make UBI happen, because otherwise there will be so much fraud about claiming twice the monthly income you get and then screwing someone else. And so I think having an online identity that proves that you are human is a very big problem in blockchains. And unfortunately, there's no other solution that we found so far than iris scanning. But they're using, again, blockchain, black magic technology, like zero knowledge proofs, I think, where we only have the hash, and like we have no clue of actually retrieving your eyeballs or your iris. So I think overall it's safe and privacy preserving. So I'm pretty passionate about Worldcoin. I'm biased because like I know the team really well, and I love this crazy ambitious project.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I should look more into WorldCoin. Um, okay, Alex, I know we're running low on time. I could probably talk to you for hours, but we're going to keep it within the time limit. What is next for you in your career journey? Like, would you ever work for a crypto company? I don't see you as that. You're such an entrepreneur. I feel like you're gonna do great things, but like, what's next for you?
What's next for me? We have a new app coming at Showtime Dracula, and so it's gonna be not really like a pivot, because it's gonna be a short form video app, but we're gonna try to expand our market. Like, as you said, like Farcaster is still a small niche, even within crypto. Like, you're in crypto, but you're not on Farcaster. Next, we're going to try to target Twitter a bit more, and we're going to try to target any cryptocurrency, not just Degen, so it really speaks to a broader audience. So that's what's next. But I think my long-term goal is to stay in crypto until UX is up to par and we get most of the world on chain. And hopefully that should be within the next 10 years. And I want to be there for when it happens, so I'm not leaving.
Cool. Okay, well, good. Alex, this has been such a wonderful conversation. If our listeners want to get in touch with you, how should they do that?
Thank you so much. Yeah, so I mean, my @ on Twitter is at Alex Masmej, Masmej. Same on Warpcast, same on Dracula.
Cool. Okay. Well, hopefully everybody can reach out to you if they have questions. I know I've got questions, so we're going to chat after this. But yeah, it's been a pleasure having you on. So thanks
Thank you
for
so
coming.
much. Thank you.
Thanks. Special thanks to 4Labs Digital for producing Web3 Deep Dive podcast. I'd also like to thank the sponsors behind Web3 Deep Dive. You can click the links in the show notes to learn more about each of the Web3 initiatives from these sponsors. Finally, thanks to the listeners for tuning in. Please be sure to subscribe, like, and share.